What is up, YouTube, and welcome to a very special stream here tonight on the Get Wrecked Gamer Squad. And as you see in the title, we are celebrating Resident Evil 2. It is its 20th anniversary. Yes, 20. Hashtag our age is showing.
Yes, right.
We're not old. I'm only. So that game came out. That game came out when I was a year old.
That game came out. I was 7 years old. Corey, what
I was
12.
I was 1 year old.
We're really excited about this, everybody, because Resident Evil 2 is, well, I'm speaking on myself here, it's like my all-time favorite game and my favorite Resident Evil game in the series. I have so many memories of playing this. I absolutely love this game so much.
Well, you know, I love Resident Evil 2. It was the game that introduced me to the survival horror genre. I mean, because quite frankly, Resident Evil made survival horror what it is today. Like, without Resident Evil, there would be no survival.
And as always, guys, I'm joined by the rest of the squad here. It's Mickey and Corey. Say hi, guys.
What'd it be?
What's up, YouTube universe?
I like how you guys had to think about your introduction. That was awesome.
No, I was trying to make sure I wasn't going to interrupt him. I was trying to be nice.
Oh.
I know. Me?
So
nice?
what is,
I was about to say that same damn thing.
So what is your guys' opinion on the original game, and do you guys have any memories of playing the original one? What was like your favorite thing about playing it?
The first one or the second one?
Yeah, wow, Mickey. It's just like that.
No. This is gonna sound like I think Resident Evil 2 was the second Resident Evil game I had ever played, because I mean, technically it was the third, because I played the first one, but only for a brief moment. I didn't beat it, and then when I got old enough to not piss the bed,
right?
when I got old enough to not piss the bed, because I mean at that age that game was fucking terrifying.
It was very
especially
scary.
back in the day. That was, you know, cool graphics. I mean those type of graphics then were like, oh my god.
Yeah. Well,
and
the
then,
thing is, like, I actually have to give a shout out to my dad, because if it wasn't for my father, I would have never played Resident Evil. Like, we'd go to the video store and he'd always want to get it, and I was never interested as a kid. But I was like, all through my childhood, I was always real into like horror movies and stuff. So we finally got it, and I remember playing it for this first time in the part where you're Leon or Claire, and you turn the corner and that fucking liquor is on the ceiling. That to me is one of the best scenes in the whole game.
All you children who don't know what a video store is,
Right.
well, I mean, technically they're not even. There's one in here. There's one in downtown Hamilton. It's a Family Video. I think there's
Holy crap, those things are still around?
I know.
Yeah,
right? I think Family Video is really the only video rentals places around.
Because I think Family Video is the one that's also down in Dayton too, is it not?
Yep.
Someone's coughing.
Oh, it's my daughter. She needed a drink, so she came down to get one. That's all.
And like, it's funny because like 90% of the people that I talk to, at least for me, their first Resident Evil game has always been Resident Evil 2.
Mine was, well, for the first one was my first one, but the first game I ever beat was Resident Evil 3. Just because, you know, I saw it at Hollywood Video, and I'm like, oh my god, it looked cool, and it was fucking terrifying. I mean, literally, going down a fucking hallway, and you just hear this, stars. You're like, no!
Oh god.
Oh yeah.
No!
Well, here's my thing, and like I said before, I really do feel like Resident Evil 2 is what put it on the map. Because it's so good, and then the fact that
really
they had 2 different campaigns, and there's 2 different scenarios, and you know, I remember opening it, or renting it, and there was 2 discs. There was Leon disc and Claire disc, and it was just
that's what I loved
so
about
That was one
it.
of the best things. Yes, I was about to say the same damn thing. And no
That's
one
what I
likes
loved
Claire.
about it. Well, you know,
Team
I
Jill,
do.
sorry about
you
it.
guys. Fuck you guys. I like Claire. And I think the reason I like Claire so much is because she was the first character I played. She was the first character. I played her walkthrough first. Like, I remember distinctly that I played.
I think that's why.
Well, see, the thing that I liked about
I had never
Resident
played
Evil
the
2
first game.
why it was so made, besides the atmosphere, was the fact that you got these 2 people that's completely new to the town, Raccoon City, and they go in here, and then it's like, this town is fucking like destroyed with zombies and creatures, and they literally are like one of the only two people left, and they got to escape the city, and it was a really good story, and I think that's what made it so good.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say though, Resident Evil 2, my fondest memory of it is it terrifying me. And that sounds really
Scary.
stupid
It
to
is.
say. But if you're sitting in the dark with nothing, like I remember playing it, I think I was 13 years old. It was like the year after it came out. So I was 13 years old, sitting in my room with my PS1 hooked up to a TV with auxiliary cables on it, sitting
Oh
in my room in the middle of
God.
the night with my door shut and my lights off playing Resident Evil 2. That's stupid if you don't
Yeah.
like scary.
That
My-
is stupid.
My cousin James, which you guys know, and my other cousin Daryl, I have a lot of memories of being. It'd be like 10, 11 o'clock, and we'd have pizza or whatever, and we would always play Resident Evil 2, and that was something I always looked forward to growing up, is playing that game. I absolutely loved it.
And
so much.
also, mind you, for anybody who has never played a Resident Evil game before, who's tuning in tonight, or at any point, and is looking up, information on the game whilst we talk about it, and is looking at these graphics going, how the fuck do these people think this game is scary? I think this is a point in which we have to admit we are older, because back in the day, at that point, 20 years ago, you need to think, video games have come a long fucking way.
Oh, yes, they have.
Like, graphics
Because-
back then, that type of graphics, that could be terrifying to a person.
Well, not only that, besides that, like, you didn't see games like that back then. Like, you really
I'm
didn't.
a huge. No, you didn't. I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan. I know, totally different game, but mind you, I mean, I was awestruck when Final Fantasy X came out for the PlayStation 2, and they fucking had voices. I'm like, what is this witchcraft?
Well, it's funny you say that, because I feel like at 1998, the two biggest games on PlayStation was Resident Evil 2 and Final Fantasy 7. Those
really
were the
was.
games of 1998.
They were. I mean,
And,
Final Fantasy Resident Evil 2 is just, oh god. And the music, can we just say the score in that game?
Oh,
Especially, oh god.
that's one of my favorite things about Resident Evil 2. Is still to this day, I think it has the best musical score in a video game. And I
It really does.
hope
Well, one of them.
they
I
keep
can't
it.
say the best, but one of them, yes. I'll agree to that.
So,
The save room theme is just everything.
yeah, the save room theme is one of my favorites. Is from the second one. With that being said, let's talk about the remake that might be coming tomorrow, y'all.
Let's talk about sex, baby. Well, not the remake itself, but just
Tomorrow being the 20th
announcement about
anniversary,
it.
I think that we're going to
today.
get something.
It's technically today. Technically, right now, it's the 20th anniversary because it's technically Sunday.
Yep, it sure is, people. It's midnight on a Sunday here in the Ohio. Now, there's been a lot of Capcom has teased a lot through this week about RE7, and there's people getting mad about it, and people that are wondering if we're going to see nothing at all. And what are your guys' hopes for the remake? What do you want to see, and what don't you want them to do with it?
I do not want. As weird as this sounds, God, I'm trying to find a way to word this to sound. I want it to be boring. And by boring, I don't mean boring. What I mean by this is okay, so you've got Resident Evil 2, and Resident Evil 3, which has quiet atmospheres, but, at the same time, it's got a great score at points, It's got, minimal ammo, lots of zombies. It's more run and hide and use your ammo if absolutely
So
necessary.
basically, you're saying you don't want an action-driven like the last couple entries have been.
And then Final Fantasy IV came out. Final Fantasy IV was okay. It had a nice little blend of, action meets horror, but I still wasn't very scared. Then 5 and 6 came out. I'm like, what? Okay, so I did enjoy the stories of 5 and 6-ish, but it just wasn't scary anymore. I mean, it was like fucking Rambo meets Resident Evil, dude.
I feel
so
like
I'm really hoping it goes scary. Like, I don't want a copy and paste remake. I want something new, but at the same time, I want that same feeling. I want to be able to play this game and be like, and still get that same feeling I got when playing that as a kid, going, "Oh my god," you know what I mean?
Right, like a relive.
Yes.
Well, here's
Exactly.
here. and I'm gonna beat the subject to death. Camera views, and I know this is like a big thing. It's been talked about like, in many
Yes.
videos.
Yes.
Here's my thing.
Preach, Daddy,
I
preach.
do not want first person for this game, and I know a lot
Amen.
of the new people are like, oh yeah, we want first person. It does not belong in Resident
No.
Evil 2. It does not
It
belong in it.
doesn't.
And the
No,
reason why I say this is the original 3, the Raccoon City Saga 1, 2, 3. It's most known because of the atmosphere. And
Yes.
the third person or the fixed camera angles is what made that possible.
Yes, like if you're going down an alleyway, it's got that weird. I don't know how to explain it, but it's got
like
got
an
that
ominous.
Yes, it's got the ominous. Like you're viewing it from a certain point that just has this eerie, like almost claustrophobic type of feeling to it.
Yeah. I don't want for, and then like people say, okay, what over the shoulder? Would I be mad if they did over shoulder? No, I wouldn't be mad. I'd be kind of upset. And here's my. I was trying to think about why and like explain it to people. Okay, you get 4, 5, and 6. Okay, they were all over the shoulder, and I think the reason why it works in those games is because 90% of those games you were outside, so the environment was bigger. Okay, if you take Resident Evil 2, which happens in a police station, it's more closed in. So I feel like over the shoulder, it would ruin the environment. Like it wouldn't blend right. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well,
Like,
see, you can't have an enclosed space like that. Like, because a lot of 2 takes place in pretty enclosed spaces, like the police station and the sewers and all that. And you can't have an over-the-shoulder camera angle that makes the environment look as confined as it's supposed to be.
And for a lack of a better word,
camera angles, you just get a better feeling for the environment around you, and
it brings the environment to life. It really does.
Yeah, and the thing with first person, my mic was off and I didn't even realize it. But with first person, I think it should be an option for the people who want a first person Resident Evil game. I think it should be made an option where you can turn it on and off.
I would be okay with that.
Because it can be customizable for the people who want that first person view of what's going on. You know?
I am so torn on whether I want this option or not. Now let me give you the pros and cons of it before I just totally tear it apart, because I like to see I'm independent when it comes to politics, so I like to see from both views. But what I'm saying with this situation is it does have its pros and cons. Its pros is when they made Resident Evil 7, which was the most recent game, they stated in the game, I believe it actually on the opening thing, a Resident Evil game for hardcore fans and newcomers alike, or something along the lines of that. And so there's a lot of people who played Resident Evil 7 that had never played a Resident Evil game before, who is that's their first game to the series, and so that's what they've come to expect, that's what they've come to know, and if they enjoyed it, then that's what they're kind of expecting in a Resident Evil 2 remake. Now, on the other hand, there are the group of fans who know it to be the way it was, who have played the game since the beginning and know, like, when we were talking about the camera angles and what, and the way we want it like that. But I'm just...
My fear is they're going to modernize it too bad. And what I gotta keep telling people is, don't get me wrong, I respect all fans of the new and the old, but this remake is a love letter tribute to the original fans. And that people have to realize that this game has to take place in 1998. It's canon that way. And I'm afraid they're going to try to modernize it and try to compete with games out today. And if they do that, it's not going to be good.
I hate to tell you. I hate to tell you. I'm going to be the oddball here and say they need to modernize it more. They need to modernize it for a modern gaming audience.
Well,
they do. If they want any chance of reaching outside of this, if they want any chance of reaching outside the original fan base, the people like us who have played the original trilogy, they have to modernize it somehow for a modern gaming audience. So that means we're probably not, and I'm sure the remake is, I'm sure fans are not looking for like a carbon copy remake, but the controls are going to have to be modernized.
Well, yeah.
We probably won't get the fixed camera angles. We'll probably get first person, if anything is an option, but if Capcom... But if the original remake, if the Resident Evil, the original game remake is any indication of what 2 is going to be, then I think we might be okay.
Well,
Now,
here's the
Corey,
thing.
I actually have to. Okay, you first. Dustin.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Okay, well, here's the thing. I get where you're coming
No one
from
likes you.
about
Shut up.
modernizing it, but at the same time,
You're
like
okay.
the YouTube channel Resident Evil Talk, I'm giving him
Are
a
you
shout
done?
out. No, I'm not. Shut up. So I was talking to him today, and he's like, "Yeah, I can see it now." The scene where Leon walks in and talks to Claire, and he gives her a radio. Today, that Capcom want to make it here. Here's this iPhone. DM me if anything goes down.
Yes!
Like I'm just afraid that they're going to modernize it to the point where it's just going to screw everything up. Gameplay wise, I see but don't fuck up what was so good about the original one. That's all I want.
I see where you're both coming from, and I do actually, now that she puts it that way, I do have to agree in a sense, because and I hate to keep bringing, no I don't, I love Final Fantasy, but I'm going to bring up Final Fantasy VII again. As we all know, there is a Final Fantasy VII remake coming out.
Yes.
When they first announcement, I had these same feelings towards this remake as, we are about the Resident Evil 2. It's just like, oh my god, if they modernize it, I'm going to be so pissed. But when you really think about it, sometimes modernization, but not too much! Too much would be the iPhone instead of the, radio.
Instead of the radio.
Right.
But what they're doing with it is,
Claire, send me a chat if anything goes south.
Send me an iMessage. Skype me.
Oh god, why? Oh god, why?
I've sent you a friend request on Facebook. Make sure you add me.
Well, see, the director of the original Resident Evil remake, which is what's streaming in the background, they're the ones that are working on this remake coming out of RE2. That's why I'm kind of excited about it, because they did such a good job. They took what was good about the original one, and instead of changing anything, they just made it better. And that's what I hope they do with the RE2 remake, is don't change nothing, just make it better.
Yes, that's what I'm really hoping for, because of the fact that, like, as I was talking about with the Final Fantasy VII remake, they are taking what made the game so great. They're not fucking with everything. It's not like they're going and just like they're going to change everything. But I mean, there is some things like a battle system. Sometimes there's just certain changes that need to be made to improve the overall quality and experience of the game. It's little things like that that I would be semi-okay with. Not changing things like a radio from an iPhone, but to add some little tweaks to the battle system, that would be okay.
Okay.
One thing I really hope...
I am too, viewer. I'm with you. I think we're all pretty excited to see what they're going to come up with. I'm, like, on edge.
One thing that I'm kind of worried about that Dustin and I discussed about a month or two ago is anybody who's not up to date with the Resident Evil 2 news, as we've talked about before, when the original came out, there was 2 discs. One was Claire, one was Leon. What they're doing with this new one is that they're not having 2 separate stories for them. It's going to be all one story.
Good.
Now we're not sure if it's going to be. We're not sure if it's going to be like a co-op to where one person can play as Claire, one person can play as Leon, or if it's going to be 2 chapters, or what they're going to do with it. But I am kind of worried about that. To be honest.
What I want when it comes to that, and I'm glad you brought that up. I think, okay, just like in the original one, Leon starts on one side of the crash, Claire starts on the other. I think if they want to take out the scenario things like A and B, that's fine. But they should make it to where if you play as Leon, you're on one side of the crash with the one scenario. If you pick Claire, you're on the other side. And I feel like
I can dig it.
That would be good. That would be a good balance. And then also, co-op. A lot of people have been saying, yeah, we want co-op in RE2 remake. That could actually work because there's actually a new game coming out called No Way Out or something. It's about 2 prisoners in prison. And it's a co-op game, but at the same time, you're not together. You're on like different sides of the prison.
The stories are completely different.
Right.
That's going to be so cool.
They could actually do that. But, I mean, it's just all about trying to make it work. And they, but I would be okay with that.
Guys, my friend Kayla is actually in the chat. And she left us a couple of messages. And I'm going to read them. Okay. So she said, I prefer the older Resident Evil games myself. The graphics look so much scarier despite them being so old. The original trilogy was good, but but I would like to see a return of the actual horror element. That was the first message.
Yes! I'm moist by that. Oh god, Kayla, you just got me moist.
The second one, the second message she left said, when the games became modernized, it lost the horror element, which made the game lose what
Yes,
made
very
them horror
much.
games.
That's
I'm
exactly
so
what I was
excited to
saying.
see the remake because of
It turned
that.
it from a horror game to an action RPG, pretty much.
And I feel like
It
I'm
wasn't.
not gonna blame it all on the camera views because it's not. It's a storytelling. But I feel like the camera views kind of had a say so in that because 4, 5, and 6. Well, not so much 4, but 5 and 6 was very Gears of War meets Resident Evil, and I just
They watered down the story so much in 5 and 6.
yeah they did. And
It
They
was
seem to
everywhere in
just-
fucking 6. Resident Evil 6
They-
story was fucking everywhere.
Capcom, to me, 6 is kind of that game where they were just like, you know what, we need to make money. People like Resident Evil. Let's water down the story and throw in a bunch of action elements and then put that out there and see if it sells. And it did,
Yep.
but it was only because it had the Resident Evil title on it.
yep.
And now you've got this RE2 remake coming. They better not fuck it up.
And well, I'm
I'm
telling you right now,
they
and
fuck it up,
this is not just
Capcom's done.
yeah, this is not just coming from me.
Capcom has nothing left after
If
this.
Capcom flops this remake, it's the end of them. And I'm not just saying that because it's me or it's you guys. I'm telling you, there are so many people that have been waiting for this remake that if they mess this up, they're done. They're going to lose so much fan base, and especially the old fan base that's been there since the beginning. That's
They
the ones
don't
they need
have
to
a fan base anymore. They just don't. They're losing their fan base. Their Resident Evil is all they have going for them at this point.
Yep.
And I feel like the only reason they made this RE2 remake is because of the pressure from the fan base saying, where's the RE2 remake? We've been wanting it for years. It's kind of like Kingdom Hearts 3 in that way.
Well, it's
People have
it's
been
almost
pressuring
like their
Square
last
Enix
straw
for
in the bag.
years.
Like, we're out of
Yeah.
options. Let's try this to
The
bring our
difference
fans
is,
back.
the difference is if Square Enix flops on Kingdom Hearts 3, they're going to lose one fuck ton of a lot of money, but they're still not going to die. They still have other franchises. Capcom has Resident Evil because they don't have
And Street Fighter.
Street Fighter
Devil May
5 was
Cry.
terrible. Devil May Cry, I doubt they'll make another game for it.
Well, the reboot for
Fantastic
Devil May
game
Cry
franchise, I
flopped
love
really
it.
bad.
Exactly. See what I'm saying? Resident Evil 2 right now is it seems to be all Capcom has going for it right now. If they fuck this up, they're done. They're not going to be able to recover from that.
Oh, well,
They're
I
just
agree.
not.
I really do. And there's numerous of videos out there right now. People like myself, like you guys, they're terrified of this remake. They're scared to death because you're not just remaking a game. For a lot of us, it's our history. It's our childhood. We grew up playing this game. And I'm so afraid they're going to mess it up and it's just going to ruin everything. And there's a lot of people out there saying the same thing. If they ruin this, Capcom's done. They're done.
They're not going to recover from that. I really don't think they will. Financially, they probably sank so much money into making this. And that's why I want them to take their time on it. I don't see it being released this year. I don't think it will be. I think it's going to be 2019.
Well, they've been
Early
teasing,
2019.
They've been teasing stuff all week, and I think no, we're not going to get the game tomorrow. But I definitely think, and I'll tell you why I think this. I think we're going to get a trailer or at least a demo. The reason why I say a demo is because of the following: this Capcom just put out the other day. It showed the dummy finger from 7 pointing at the typewriter. If you guys remember, the dummy finger was in the RE7 demo.
Yeah,
I think Capcom's saying that finger was pointing towards the typewriter. I think what they're saying is Capcom saying there's a demo of RE2 coming. Also, if you guys played RE7,
Corey?
Huh?
who's
What?
coming? What'd you say? Was that a viewer?
What'd you say? Huh?
Corey, who's coming?
Nobody.
And last but not least, also RE7's done as far as sales goes. All the DLC's out, but a fan noticed that there's still one more slot of a DLC coming to RE7, and I bet you it's the RE2 demo, and that would be a genius for Capcom.
Why would they put an RE2 demo inside RE7?
To sell
to me,
RE7.
that makes no sense.
That's exactly why they're doing it. They're trying to make, because RE7 flops the sales wise. They're going to do that to try to get sales on RE7.
But, okay, so can I just back up for a minute and say, I actually enjoyed Resident Evil 7 despite all its flaws. I think RE7 was a welcome departure from the original zombie infectedness. Like,
Hey viewers,
I
thank
just
you
think
so
it was
much
a
for
welcome
joining.
departure from it.
Corey, you're gonna have to read us the comments because I have no way of seeing them on my end.
Oh, so we've got one more. It's Kayla says 2 things. She said the story got watered down so that they could add more action than anything. I lost so much interest in 5 and 6 because of it. She also said, I'm worried about how they're going to remake this game. If they mess it up, Capcom is going to die as a company. I want them to take their time on it and make sure it's good.
Yes, I agree.
Because we already lost our Silent Hill on Konami. I can't afford to lose my Resident Evil.
Capcom did him so dirty.
It wasn't Capcom, sweetie.
used to be storytellers. Like, there's proof in the first 3 games. Mm-hmm. I feel like now they're just trying to make money and they're pushing shit out there. And I feel like when they made this remake, they should have brought back the team that worked on the original one and be like, okay, you guys made this game, now how could you make it better? That's what they should have done. So,
see, here's the thing. Oh, wait a minute. I'm thinking Konami. I'm thinking Kojima, yes. And Konami's the one that did.
You are.
That did Hideo Kojima really dirty. But they still did Guillermo del Toro dirty. Like, they get him all excited. They let him do all this game. They want him to do this game. And then all of a sudden, they pull the rug right out from underneath him. Really? Why'd you even tell him you're going to let him do the game, and then all of a sudden, nope, we don't want to do it anymore? What?
That's game logic for you. Okay, that brings my next discussion up. What do you guys want to see in the RE2 remake? Not as far as like graphics goes, but is there any add-ons that you would like to see, or like things that you want to see them do different? I want a Hunk storyline. Hunk is the 4th survivor. He's the one that survived out of the SWAT, well, not SWAT, but the umbrella workers down there. And he's a background character. They never explained how he escaped Raccoon City. He comes from 2. So I'm hoping it's like a side game or like a side story they'll add in there, or we'll get to see more of his character.
Maybe DLC?
Yeah, exactly. I really want to see his side character. And
sorry.
No, you're fine. And I hope they add new enemies, like throw some Crimson Heads in there. Why not?
Oh,
you know?
God.
I would like to see that.
I would like some more of Claire's juicy booty from Resident Evil Revelations.
Juicy booty, and I hope to God they fix her outfit, because that updated Claire outfit is horrible. It's absolutely horrid.
So,
thanks, Capcom.
I mean, obviously they're gonna update the graphics, and it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be an absolutely beautiful game. Just, based on the updated graphics. However, what I want to see happen is I want to see Claire and Leon overlap more.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is instead of having scenario A and scenario B, why not it could maybe something where they overlap the stories and you switch who you're playing. So like you're playing as Claire for part of the time, and then it comes to part of the story where you flip and you're playing as Leon, and then they overlap. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so that brings me to another question. Save typewriters. Keep them or ditch them and do autosaves?
No, keep them.
Yep, I say keep them. That's what made the original so good.
That leads me to another question.
Yes?
How would you feel if they made the game episodic?
No.
Fuck that.
They tried that with Revelations 2, and I hated it. I fucking hated it. I did not like it. I thought it was stupid. I think.
Mind you, this is what they're doing with like with the Final Fantasy VII remake. They are making it in 3 episodes, but the reason they are doing it is to kind of give a nod to the fact that the game originally was on 3 discs. And on top of that, are you ready for this? The Final Fantasy VII, each episode is going to be the length of Final Fantasy 13.
Oh wow.
That's a long ass game.
That's 30 to 40 hours each episode.
So I have a couple comments here that says Disaster Lord Zach said I'm assuming, I'm sorry if I'm wrong, please tell me. I'd like to see an extra story involving Elsa Walker. And Kayla also says keep the typewriters.
Oh, Eliza Walker. I'm so glad you brought that up. I don't know if you guys know this, but Resident Evil 2 didn't originally was supposed to be what we have today. Resident Evil 2 was called 1.5, and it didn't. Claire Redfield wasn't a part of it. It was Eliza Walker.
No, it was Walker. She was blonde.
She was a race car driver.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fill me in, guys. This is one thing I
Okay,
don't know about.
Resident
Somebody fill
Evil
me in, please.
1.5. The two
Ugh,
that we have today was not what they originally was going to release. They
nope.
originally was going to release a game called Resident Evil 1.5, and it starred Leon Kennedy and it starred Liza Walker. There was no Claire Redfield, and she was,
Okay.
and it was set at the same time, Raccoon City Police Department, and she was a race car driver, and Leon was still a cop. But you can actually go back on YouTube and see the full game. They had it almost complete.
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah.
And
They-
I don't have to go look at that.
yeah, and last minute Capcom decided it dwelled way too far from what they were going for, and they wanted to remake it. So that's where we got Resident Evil 2 that we have today.
That's where Claire came into play.
And yeah,
Yep.
a lot of people are saying that, you know, what if the remake is that game? What if they make it that game? I, for one, I don't want that.
I will be
but,
pissed.
But I do think they should throw her in there as like an Easter egg, or like make her like a character in the game, or, you know, a side game or something. That would be really cool. I think that would be neat.
DLC. I mean, we live in a time of DLC.
Or if anything, make it an alternate costume for Claire. Make her have the Liza Walker costume. Why? I mean, do that. That would be cool.
Okay. So I have a question. How much do you think? Okay, when it comes out, do you think it's going to be a $60 game, or do you think they'll bring
Yes.
down the price just so more
I
people
think
can
it's
buy
going
it?
to be 60.
It's going to be a
If it
full
was an
price game.
HD remake, if it was an HD like remaster, where it was the same game, just smooth
Better graphics.
graphics and all that jazz, then I can see that being 20, like they did with when they put the HD remaster of the remake of Resident Evil. But no, this is an entirely remade from the ground up game. I mean, this is going to be something brand new. It definitely has to be 60, especially if that's after what we were talking about before. Capcom's, picking at straw here.
Well, not only that, Capcom knows they'll get the money for this. People will pay $6 for this.
Thanks, Capcom.
Thanks,
You know
Capcom.
exactly where to place my ammo.
Now,
how do you guys
Kayla's
feel-
basically agreeing with Dustin. It's great.
Yeah. Okay, now I know this is a sore topic for people. Allison Court, the well-known voice actress for Claire Redfield. How do you
I'm gonna
guys
leave the
feel?
group. I can't take this shit.
I know a lot of people are pissed off that
I'm
Capcom
so
gave her the
bitter.
sack. And
Yeah,
for
in
those
case
of
you
you
don't
that...
know.
Oh, go ahead,
Yeah,
Nikki. Go ahead.
okay. Sorry, okay. Sorry, well, you started it. I want to give it to you.
Okay, in case of some of you don't know, Allison Court is she's Claire Redfield. She's been playing Claire Redfield through all the games, and
Yes.
she also was the reason why Outbreak happened. She was actually behind Outbreak 1 and 2. Well, Capcom, and please don't quote me because I may get this wrong. One of the Capcom franchises reached out to her about the RE2 remake. They wanted her to come back to voice Claire, which was like the #1 request from fans. Well, they hired her on, and in the last minute, they decided not to. They decided to go non-union, which basically means
Non-union?
non-union. Which basically they don't want to pay for her work. Basically, they want somebody that'll work for cheap. So they fired her, and who knows who's voicing Claire Redfield? How do you guys feel about that?
Okay. I will go first on this because I know Mickey is going to have a much more passionate response than I will, so I'll make mine short and sweet. I understand why they did it. And I know that it's supposed to be a remake, and I am sorry to see Allison Court go because she really... I grew up listening to her play Claire Redfield. However, if you're going to remake it, why not remake the cast as well? I don't think it's going to be a bad thing.
Well, I've heard that from
don't think
several
it's gonna
people.
be a
They've all
bad
said
thing.
that. It's
Can
not
I
so much
state
as
my
I'm.
opinion now?
It's not so much that I'm mad. It's I feel bad for her because
They
she's
did her
been
dirty.
involved. They did. She's been involved in Resident Evil since the beginning, and for her to do that, for them to do that to her, it kind of pisses me off. But go ahead, Mickey. Sorry.
Oh, thank God. Okay, so how I feel about them removing Lunette the Clown from Resident Evil 2.
Right?
Oh, yeah, I forgot that was her.
Yeah, that was totally her.
I forgot that was her.
So, I am livid. And this is why. They already did her once when they did not even contact her. Didn't even say, hey, we want to, invite you or talk to you about coming back for Resident Evil Revelations 2. They're just like, no, fuck you. We're not even going to tell you this game's being made. Here comes the game and a completely different voice
Oh
actress
yeah,
for
I
Claire.
forgot all about that. Yeah.
They did her dirty. And I'm sorry, don't get me wrong. As much as I semi-okayly-ishly liked Revelations 2, I did not like the way that Claire was done. I feel that Allison gives this kind of spunk yet positive attitude to Claire Redfield. Now, I know they were trying to go for more of a dreary feel for her, but mind you, as we were talking about before, you know, even though we want it modernized, we want to still keep that same feeling. And I do not want that feeling. I'm sorry, but the feeling that the Revelations 2 Claire gave me was just this feeling of, you know, very seclusion and loneliness, and just she was the Debbie fucking Downer.
Well, the girl that got to play Claire Redfield in Revelations 2, did she do a bad job? No, she didn't.
No.
But you got to realize we're biased.
Claire.
Well, right, we're so used to Allison Court, but I guess it was so bad that they could not list the actress's name in the credits because people were threatening and they were afraid of backlash, so they didn't even list the actress's name that played Claire in Revelations 2. That's how bad it was.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. You fuck with Allison Court. You mess with the fans, motherfucker.
Another, I was going to also bring up another thing people were saying for the RE2 remake, where 3 and 2 happened around the same time. They're wanting to know if we should see, like, Jill in there somewhere, or Nemesis, or see something about 3. Would you agree with that or no?
No, and here's why. I do feel, and this is going to sound crazy, I feel that if everything now this is just complete optimism here. If the Resident Evil 2 remake comes out and it's success. Oh, excuse me.
That was beautiful.
Like that burp was a beautiful burp.
Damn.
If it was a success, if it is a success and it comes out and makes a bunch of money, all the fans love it, critical acclaim, it's just everything everybody wanted. I want an RE3 remake. Because that's exactly what fans are going to want. They're
well,
like,
it's
okay,
already
so
starting.
you gave us...
It's already starting with the RE3 remake.
It's like, you gave us 1, you're giving us 2. If 2's okay, you motherfuckers better give us 3 because we want it and we want it now.
My opinion on that is, do I want an RE3 remake? Sure, why not? Because it was good too. But can we wait to see how they do with 2 first? Because if they do that with 2, I'm not interested in another remake.
Right.
Also, now
they're not going to sink money into. They're not going to sink a bunch of money into making 3 if 2 flops.
Exactly.
I also need your guys. I need your guys' opinion on another something.
What?
So, how would you guys feel? So, we all know that Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, all 3 came out on the PS1. Resident Evil 4 was one of the first games to come out as from the Resident Evil series on the PS2. How do you feel? How do you? Well, GameCube first. Yeah, I forgot it was GameCube exclusive.
Wow.
How do you?
Much?
Yeah, no, right?
It's okay.
How do you guys? How would you guys feel if they decided to announce after an RE3 remake?
Wow.
Fuck. An RE3 remake that they're like, hey, oh shut up. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, that they're going to remake 4.
It's too soon.
I don't know about that.
It's too soon. Like, 4 is not that old enough to be remade yet.
Out.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's really not. It's
well,
not even 20 years old.
I don't agree. I don't think they'll ever do that.
They'll never remake 4 for the simple fact that it pleased both fans. It pleases both the action and the horror fans. It was actually a good balance. That's why they won't remake it.
4 was the current generation's Resident Evil game.
Right.
Does that make
That's
sense?
when Resident Evil started changing its ways, is with 4.
Yeah. 4 was, while very watered down, in my personal opinion, 4...
I like you.
Resident Evil 4 was the game... was this current generation's Resident Evil 2. Does that make sense? Like, a lot of younger people, younger than us, like, late teens, early 20s.
Well,
that was the first game that introduced them to Resident Evil.
We're known as the Raccoon City Saga fans. That's what we're known as. We were fans of the original.
And it was the first game that really wasn't built a whole lot on Umbrella Corps. Like, they were part of it, but, like, they weren't the main center focus of the story. Does that make sense?
Yes. Corey, do we have any comments that we need to read off?
I'm trying, but my chat is not wanting to load. Oh, but Kayla says... hold on. I'd love a remake of 3, but hold on. I gotta look at it.
I'll pull mine up on my phone.
I'd love a remake of 3, but only if 2 works out. Well, Kayla's personally messaging me too. versus
Okay.
putting it in the chat because our chat's being wonky. But honestly, I don't think if 2 works out, I think they owe it to the fans to remake 3 as well. But I don't think they'll do any more after that. I honestly don't. Because,
was it?
or it will be quite a few years before they do it. I think
Yeah.
Capcom is trying to go back to the storytellers that they used to be with this RE2 remake.
Yeah.
I
Can I
think
just?
by answering the call of fans that have been screaming for the last probably 10 years for an
They've been
RE2
screaming for a long
remake,
while. It's
My
been
number
84
they
one
can
years.
do this. They can go back to the way they used to be and make the games that they used to be known for.
My
see what
number
I'm
one
saying?
want for the remake, and I know this sounds stupid for the Resident Evil 2 remake, is I hope and pray to God they keep the music. And if anything, just
Yeah.
update it. I don't like the music in the
They'll
original is
update
so
it, but I don't
good.
think they'll change it.
Well, see, what I hope they do with it is, here we go back again to Final Fantasy. When they did the Final Fantasy 10, 2, and 10 HD remaster that they released, they took the entire soundtrack of Resident Evil 10, not Resident Evil.
Wow, Mickey.
Jesus.
Wow.
We want 10, Capcom.
I'm going straight to the footer. No, they took the soundtrack of Final Fantasy X and they upped it. Like they kept the same songs, but they just added more of oomph to it. They added more instruments to it. They kept the same exact songs. They just made them better.
Right. Well, they did real good the original remake, the one that's streaming. They kept the same soundtrack, and all they did was update it. So I'm hoping that's what they'll do with the RE2 remake. And another thing that makes me
think they'll
excited
do
about
that.
the remake is, if you guys remember, there was a fan base called Invader Games, and they were working on their own version of RE2. And that's when Capcom came in and
They
shut
brought
them
them
down.
in, right?
Yeah, they brought the fans in and said, "Hey, if you shut your version down, you can come in and help us." So we also have to remember, guys, there's dedicated fans helping make this remake. So it might be good. That's what I got to keep telling myself.
I think the fan base needs to keep its expectations not at a minimum, but kind of in the middle, and try not to get them too high. Because I'm afraid that if fans get their expectations too high, they're gonna be let down.
Yep.
They're really gonna be let down, and I don't want to see that happen. I want to see people's expectations rise.
So basically,
like,
I think we can all agree
Here's
for
what
the
I
remake.
thought it was gonna be, and it was way the hell up here. Like, I want that game to rise above expectations.
Well,
So
I
basically,
want
for
to-
like,
is not out yet.
Sorry,
FPS
go ahead.
RE7 was
No,
a bad
you're fine.
idea.
Go ahead.
It might had sell a lot, but it really
well,
wasn't
keep it.
a
Okay,
real
this
Resident
comes
Evil.
from can't
They
think of a
lose.
good name. Well, keep in mind that it's not out yet. First person RE7 was a bad idea. It might had sell a lot, but it really wasn't a real Resident Evil. They lost their way at Capcom. I absolutely agree with you, and I've said time and time again, was Resident Evil 7 a good game? It was a good game, but it was not a good Resident Evil game. You could have literally slapped any other name on that game and it would sell. Like, to me,
Outlast much?
there was no Resident Evil feel to that game whatsoever. For me, it flopped. I've only played through it once and I didn't care for it. The DLC was bullshit. They hyped this
The
DLC
not a year
up.
DLC?
Yeah, they hyped it up for months, pushed it back, and then we played it, and there was, spoiler alert, I'm sorry, but there's no twist. And I don't give a fuck what you say or how much he's changed. Chris Redfield would never work for Umbrella. He would never do it. And
Okay, so nobody has ever been able to answer this question for me. Is Resident Evil 7 canon to the original 3? Does it take place before or way the hell after?
it takes place
After.
nowadays. Yeah, it's just...
Yes.
And yes, according to Capcom, it's canon. But like I said, there's only a few elements in that game that even mentions past games. So it's not a very
How can
good
it be
game.
canon?
Yeah, it's a good game, but it's not a good Resident Evil game. It flopped for me really bad.
Mickey?
Okay, here
what
we
do you
go.
think?
Oh, Dustin already read that. Sorry, I've got the chat up, and I'm kind of upset that somebody already gave us the thumbs down.
It's okay. We can't all be winners.
Yeah, we can't please everybody.
Nope. It's okay. The people who are watching are the ones that really want to see what we have to say, so we'll just focus on them. Okay?
Can't think of a
Let's
good
do that.
name. Said RE7 is after a year from RE6 events. Yeah, that sounds right. I think I did read that.
A year after RE6?
Yeah.
Is that what he said? Okay.
Yep.
Or he I'm
Michael
sorry.
McIntyre.
So I think we can all agree as far as the remake goes, and I think the people watch more. We want them to take what was so good about the original and just update it. Don't change anything. Preferably, God, no first person. Just Capcom's got to remind themselves that this is supposed to be a love letter tribute to the original fans. So I think we all can agree. Just Capcom, please just take what's good about the original and just update it. Basically, a good example of what they should do is the original remake. They did the original remake perfect. That game was flawless. I'm hoping they do the same with the second one. That's all I'm going to say on that matter.
I don't know. I don't know if they will. I really don't know if they will. And I only say that because they want to make it a tribute, but I think and they're also wanting to make it a more modernized game.
I do
Because
think we'll see something tomorrow, though, because they've been tweeting all the last two tweets. The first one was about Leon, the second one was about Claire, and then they asked the question. It said something about how many times has Claire been in jail cell. The answer was 2. So I definitely think we're going to see something tomorrow, whether it's a demo, a picture, something.
So Kayla messaged me, by the way, and she said she was going back to our conversation about RE4 being kind of this generation's Resident Evil 2. And she said, I'm only 20, but I prefer the original game. She said, I watched my real dad play all the original games, and I love the original games more than the ones we have today. I grew up watching them being played in front of me. And I think, and I am glad, Kayla, that you really enjoy the original games. However, as a whole, your generation's first Resident Evil game that they were exposed to mostly will be Resident Evil 4.
Here's one thing. I'm sorry, continue.
And I only say that because of sheer just timing. Because a lot of your generation grew up with parents that weren't necessarily like avid gamers a whole lot of the time. So you're one of probably a select few in your generation who can appreciate the original games for what they were. You know?
Right.
Not to say it's a bad thing, but I guess I don't know. I was going somewhere with it. I'm just kind of like, no. Mickey, go for it.
Okay, so here is something I would kind of like to see to make it up to the fans, in my honest opinion. I know we've discussed possibly having them come in contact in any way, shape, or form with Jill. One thing I would really like to see in this remake is, don't get me wrong, I love Leon, and I know Leon was a key character in 2, but I would really like some strong female representation in this game through Claire and Jill, because I'm sorry, these past few Resident Evil games, it's been so male testosterone driven, it's sickening.
I actually agree with that.
Revelations 2, yeah, there was Claire, but I mean, Barry, spoiler alert, he killed the bad, he killed the bad guy. It's just been so testosterone crazy that I'm just like, where the fuck is our strong female? I mean, mind you, the first game, you've got Jill and Chris, and a lot of people like Jill more than they like Chris. You've got Resident Evil 2, a lot of people like Claire more than they like Leon.
Mickey, and if I'm pronounced this wrong, please forgive me. Small Bean Kai said, "Preach, Mickey."
Yeah, that's
can't think of a good name. Said, "I hate to admit, but you're right." Well, I've always said I think the next entry should be the main characters should be Claire and Jill. Like, I think it should be them two.
Agreed.
I want an original game with them two together.
Exactly.
I don't want it to be RE2 remake. I want them to stick with Claire and Leon for the RE2 remake, but I would love to see another original Resident Evil game along that, like, canon to the original 3, where Claire and Jill come in contact with each other, and then they team up and kick some zombie ass.
If you get the good ending, yes, Claire does. Claire is the one who kills Alex.
I mean, I think Claire and Jill in a game together would just be badass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because let's admit it,
Jill and Claire
Claire's a badass, awesome. But Jill is too. Jill can hold her own just to save as Claire.
And now I'm going to say this.
They're good. They'd be good together.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
This is going to sound really weird, but if they do a Resident Evil 3 remake, I know that people like graphics these days. It's gotten to the point where it's like motion capture. Like they'll take a person, and I think for the Resident Evil 3 remake, they should have. I'm trying to remember her name. I want to say it was Sienna Guillory. It might not be the name, but the
Sienna
woman
Guillory
who
was the one that played her in the movie.
yes, the one who played her in the movie. I think they should bring her back for the voice and motion capture, just because. I'm sorry, but out of every video game movie I have ever seen, she has been the one person who has looked almost dead on what I expected this character to look like.
Yeah,
From the
life,
walk to the talk to the moves, she was Jill. I was shook. I couldn't take it in a good way. So I think if they do remake Resident Evil 3, not to be, pushing onto a 3, I do think that they should try to at least give her contact, because she's not Union. Thanks, Capcom.
Thanks, Capcom.
And see how she'd feel about this, because I think she would make an excellent Jill.
Can't think of a good name. Says that's a tough one. It'll be sweet, but 2 action chicks is quite tricky. It should be either she or her.
Ooh.
Well, I mean, here's my thing. I know not many people have played this game, but how would I? Oh God, I lost.
Well, my opinion for that is, and I'm sorry, everybody, please don't get mad at me. And it's not just because I'm a Jill fan, but Claire just had her showtime in Revelations 2. I think it's time for Jill to come back for a main game, and the reason why I say that is
Jill was in Revelations.
Yeah,
though,
I was about to say I know she was in Revelations, but Claire had 2. She had Code Veronica. She had Revelations 2, and you have to admit, from 4 on, they're for some reason Capcom is dead set on making Jill look more and more like a side character. And it's pissing me off because she was there since the beginning. So I do believe it's time for Jill to have her own entry in the series again. I mean, that's just how I feel. Like, spoiler alert for those of you who haven't played it, at the end of 5, when they killed Wesker, it was Chris and Sheva holding the rocket launchers. That should have been Chris and Jill, because they're the ones that started it, and they should have been the ones that end it, not Sheva. And that's, I don't know why.
This is going to sound like an awful thing. I'm going to sound like an awful person.
That's a good point about Jill and Claire too, though. Jill has been pushed to the side too much.
Yes, she has. I agree there. She has been pushed to the side too much.
Dude. I think is more of Jill time.
Yes, thank you for agreeing. Totally Jill time. We need more Jill sandwiches.
My dog kicked my headset out of my controller. But I was saying, if they make any more games, I really hope, this is going to sound awful, I really hope they never bring Sheva back.
She wasn't that bad, was
Can't
she?
think of a good name. We stream stuff like this all the time, and we play a lot of horror games. If you like what you see, please subscribe, and we'll do the same. And we appreciate you so much for being involved in the chat. We really enjoy it.
Yeah, we like interacting with people. It's awesome. It's fun to have that fan perspective. Well, to me, it's fun to have that fan perspective, and having people watch that have different, like maybe different opinions or different perspectives on certain things.
Okay.
I hate that we got a thumbs down, but
I don't want to see a return of Shiva.
Oh, but we got 3 thumbs up now.
Let's see here. To move on, what is your guys'
comment gave us some thumbs, yo.
What is some of your guys' favorite aspect of Resident Evil 2? What was your guys' favorite thing about the original Resident Evil 2? Mine was probably the atmosphere and the music. That was by far my favorite.
Dude, that's a tough one.
I think the music is fucking amazing in that game.
Trying to remember 20 years ago when I was actually playing it is really tough.
I have a huge list. So I'm just kind of go off and say just one thing. One thing I liked, and this is kind of a weird thing. It's one thing they're actually getting rid of in this remake, which is also why I'm kind of scared. I really enjoyed.
Yes, William Birkin was fucking awesome.
I really enjoyed how they had a separate disc for Claire and a separate disc for Leon.
Yes.
So you got like 2 full different games for the price of 1.
And can we all just admit, and Mickey, I'm gonna let you finish. can we all just admit, when we first opened that game, there's 2 discs. Did you or did you not sit there and admire that disc artwork for like 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I
Claire
loved
and
it.
Leon.
It was so anime. It was so good. I loved the way they looked on the discs.
Vicky, finish
Can
your
I have
thought.
the mic back now, Kanye?
I guess.
I'm gonna let you finish.
I'm gonna let you finish. But
I
Jill
feel like
was
Taylor
the best on the stage.
Oh my god!
Oh, I love it.
Oh.
Vicky, let me know when
also-
it's my turn.
That time.
Also, if y'all really, one thing, oh god, I lost my train of thought. Son of a fucking bitch. Oh, one thing, I kind of, oh god, how would I put this? I kind of hope they add some dialogue, more dialogue into the game. Just because when you think of Resident Evil, like the first game, there are so many different one-liners you can think of. Like in the original, not the remake, but the PS1 version. You know, you've got the whole, "Wow, that was close. You were almost a Jill sandwich."
Right.
Yeah,
It's so
right.
iconic. Yeah.
And I mean, it's so iconic that I mean, for Christmas, I got Dustin a T-shirt that says Jill sandwich.
He sure did.
And it's got like it's got like Jill inside of a sub.
It's so good.
And it says Jill sandwich looking like Subway.
I think another good thing about, and I hate to sound weird, but I think another
and
good
that
thing
shirt
about
is brought to you by Redbubble.com. That's
Redbubble.com. I think another thing I liked about the well, 2 things additional I liked about RE2 was, one, Capcom had nerve. Because for them to put like a young girl such as Sherry and Claire in a situation like that and make it to where, spoiler alert, 20 years later if you haven't played, but to make it where William Birkin, more or less, for lack of a better word, implanted her with embryos and like it was risky and it was dark, and I liked the nerve they had back then. And I also like the zombie noises in that one. They're fucking hilarious.
Okay. You saying that actually reminded me of something that I actually kind of hope they change. Because I hate this in every fucking game. And I hated that it was in a Resident Evil game. I hated that it was in Resident Evil 2. I hated that it was in Resident Evil 4. But I fucking can't stand babysitting missions. I fucking can't stand playing a game when you're by yourself and you're walking diddle. Oh, here's this character. But oh, wait. They're defensive. They're fragile. You have to look after them while you're walking down this fucking sewer full of spiders and zombies.
Case in
Oh,
point,
no!
Worst babysitting job, Ashley Graham, Resident Evil 4.
That fucking bitch. No one likes her.
Sherry
She's worse
Birkin
than
as a
Sheva.
child was more useful than Ashley Graham.
Yeah, but still, she may have been useful, but she was still. I hate to say it. Well, no, I don't. Natalia whooped ass in Revelations 2.
I like Moira.
Like-
I think they need to bring back Moira. She was her. I don't know if it's her character or the voice actress, but she did a really good job. I really liked Moira.
Oh, it was both. I mean, she was funny. She really, you could see Barry in her, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, can I just ask? Okay, so to answer your question, Dustin, my favorite thing about Resident Evil 2 was the atmosphere. Like,
Oh,
I
so
love the
good.
music. I love the music. I love the game in general. But what made that game so terrifying was the atmosphere. I mean, those fucking transitioning screens with the doors fucking terrified me every time. Because I never knew what I was walking into.
Exactly. It was scary. And I like the fact that you'll be walking. This is another reason why I like this game. Here's a good example of atmosphere. When you're walking down Raccoon City streets, or when you're on a part where you're outside and the creepy music's playing, and you look off in the distance, there's like buildings with lights on and shit. It makes you wonder, okay, who's in that building, or like it makes you feel like, it just makes you wonder about the background, like what's going on back there. Is there other survivors? Like the atmosphere was so good in that
Remember
game.
the echo outside.
One thing I really think they should bring to the game as well, that I think it would be kind of awesome, especially with the way graphics are today. Anybody who's played the original knows of how iconic the original opening sequences, especially that scene which they actually used in the movie where you see the helmet laying on the ground and you just see all the fucking chaos and bullshit that's going on in the like lens of the fucking helmet. I think it would be a cool little quirk in the game where, like, especially how they could use that and the angles of the game to where you can kind of like see in like a mirror or like a store window or like a helmet on the ground or something, like zombies coming from behind you, but you can't see them on the screen just yet. Like, you know it's coming, you know they're there, but you can't see them. You know what I mean?
Think of a good name. Said, remember the echo outside from Kenzo's store in number 2? That was creepy. Yeah, I remember. Like, that's another good thing about 2 is when you're outside, it made that you can hear the zombie echoes and the wind and shit and like the background music and the background noises. That's where it was amazing. Like, they did so good with that atmosphere in this game.
That all, I was gonna say that all added to the overall creepy and at points terrifying atmosphere. I mean, so is anybody? That whole part of the game was terrifying. And
can we just discuss? Okay, so this is totally random. Dustin and I had like a cool little get together a couple weeks ago, and we decided to have a fun little Resident Evil quiz thing going on. And Dustin is such a freak, in a good way, that I put up on YouTube and put it on the Bluetooth all the moans from the zombies and how they changed and progressed throughout the series. Dustin was able to tell me with the mixture of the moans what zombie it came from and from which game.
Yeah, well, they're very distinctive. Like, one of my favorite zombie moans.
Some of them, I'm sorry, some of them sounded like fucking full-on porn.
Yeah, one of my favorite moans is from the second game. It's the girl zombie, and you'll hear nothing, and then all of a sudden you hear, oh, it's just so good. I love it so much.
Somebody put in the chat, Devin Ketter? Forgive me, I butcher names. Yeah, maybe. Says, bro, Nemesis is so mad it feels good not to hear yelling. I don't know what that means, but...
If you're meaning that Nemesis is a creepy son of a bitch, yeah, he is. And Nemesis is definitely one of the most iconic Resident Evil creatures in the series.
So, I have a question for you two, and being our resident, Resident Evil fans.
We're the resident bitches.
So I have a question for you. I know we're talking about RE2 Remake, and we'll get back to that, but I have to ask this question because it's something that's been bothering me. It's something that I would personally like to see, but I want to see what you two think about it. How would you guys feel if they made a completely original Resident Evil universe with Alice as the main character?
As a game?
Yeah, as a game.
Maybe for a reboot,
and a completely new, like a complete. No, I'm talking not even reboot. Completely original story, completely original universe, a brand new universe, separate from the original movies, separate from the movies and the games. Gave her her own universe and a new cast of characters. What do you think?
Here's what I think. I love Mila Jovovich. Would I pay to see another Resident Evil movie? If one came out, yes. But at the same time, that being said, it's not that I don't love the character of Alice. It's not that I don't love Mila. It's the fact that I feel that her story has been played out. Like, she started out back in 2002 with how it all started, and then they finally finished it off in the final chapter. It was the final chapter for a reason. I mean, we all went and saw that together.
Can't think of a good name. Said that's fucked up. She was a lame character and didn't have any value. I agree, because I'll tell you why. What made Resident Evil scary was you were normal human beings trying to survive. In the movie, you got this badass chick that somehow managed to, fight all these evil things or like creatures off like they're nothing, and it kind of dulled down the feeling of Resident Evil for me a little bit. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the movies, but I don't think Alice should be in a video game. It's not Resident Evil. It wouldn't be right.
Bonus. Okay. That was just something that has been bothering me.
I know this is a little off topic too. A lot of people think about Outbreak. the Outbreak series being remade. I absolutely agree, and I think the reason why Outbreak didn't make it as well is because it was way ahead of its time. You gotta realize when Outbreak came out on PlayStation 2, online gaming wasn't really a thing yet. Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't around.
And it was so much more complicated to do.
If they would have
back then.
remastered those and released them now, there would be so many people
It'd be great.
playing the Resident Evil Outbreak games. It's not even funny. Like I think they should remaster those for sure.
Because online gaming didn't really become a thing until PS3.
Exactly.
When the PS3 came out and Resident Evil 5 came out and Resident Evil 6, those were the first two games to really feature online multiplayer as a feature within the game. And I think that's why, at least for me, I enjoy Resident Evil 5 so much more than like 4 or 6. Because I really enjoy playing Mercenaries on Resident
here's
Evil
a good
5.
question. It's not from our viewers, but would we want in the RE2 remake, do you think they should incorporate Wesker in it somehow? I would be down for that.
Sure
I would
do.
be absolutely down for
Sure
that.
the fuck do.
Don't necessarily make him a boss or you gotta fight him, but we should definitely see him because he would, believe it or not, if you played the Chronicle games, I mean, he was behind too. Like, he was behind the first 3. And what's so cool about the original 3 is Raccoon City was more or less made and developed by Capcom as a testing site for their virus. That's why it's like the town's full of like puzzles and like underground shit because it's just a testing site for the virus for them to test their shit out on. And Wesker was behind it from the beginning. He was never he was a STARS member, but the whole time he was working for Umbrella. The reason why he was working for RPD is to, you know, try to get them off Umbrella's back and
fans of the Raccoon City
and you know stuff like that.
See,
so, yeah.
he was kind of the plot twist basically. As soon as RPD would get close, he'd like throw them some bone to like throw them in like the complete opposite direction of where they needed to go.
Exactly. Well, he
was playing like a double agent.
He took Alpha Team and Bravo Team to the mansion on purpose because they needed test subjects for the virus. And he didn't expect no one to make it. Well, here comes Rebecca, Barry, Chris, and Jill. And, well, when they survived and, you know, Wesker knew that shit was going to happen, they were going to, you know, tell Umbrella. That's when the virus was released in the city. And that's the government. Well, not the government. Was it Umbrella or the government?
Oh, so Can't Think a Good Name says, yep, that's true. She was like a superhero in a zombie apocalypse. I'm assuming he's talking about Alice.
Yeah, it wouldn't work.
Kayla says, good night, guys. It's nice to find fans of the Raccoon City trilogy. I can't find anyone who is a fan of the original series, so this made my night. Aww.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you, Kayla.
Thank you for joining us, by the way.
Thank you so much.
But
that's awesome.
To wrap that up, yeah, I think they should definitely. We should see a cutscene with Wesker or incorporate him or something. And yeah, Wesker should be.
Maybe like an end credit, even if it's something as small as like an end credit cutscene. Like after the end credits roll, give us a small cutscene, say 2 minutes of Wesker, and then that's it.
If you played Zero, which takes place obviously before 1, 2, and 3, there's a cutscene with Wesker and William Birkin talking, and Wesker says, you know, is it done yet? Well, William Birkin said, no, I'm still working on it. He's talking about the T virus that was released in the city. So Wesker's been behind all this from the beginning. So yeah, I do think that they should somehow put him in there.
Do they ever really tell us why? I mean, spoiler alert if you've not played the games. Huge spoiler alert. But did they ever really get to the root of why Wesker did it?
Wesker was he was like one of the head people at Umbrella. And he only joined, like I said, he only joined RPD and STARS just to, you know, keep an eye on them and make sure that they're not finding out what's going on in Umbrella. So that's why, I mean, that's just how it was.
I mean, why did they need the T virus anyway? What was the point of it? I guess I never understood.
It's a more updated version of the G virus from the first one.
Yeah, I forgot that the viruses were different. I did. Hi, cool gamer boy. How you doing?
So do you really think that Crimson Head should be brought back into this game?
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
like they did in the remake.
Well,
I fucking
Crimson
hate
Heads, I
Crimson.
guess, they're like the first evolution of a liquor. So where two introduced liquors, it would be cool to be like see a Crimson Head and it turns into a liquor
Oh,
Hi.
or something.
yes. Okay. Here's what I think would be cool. Like if they, first starts off as a zombie, and that you have that feature where you have to like, because in the first game, if you've never played the game, they added in the remake of the first game, they added a feature in which when you kill a zombie, you have to set it on fire with your lighter, or else.
That was 2. Was that in 2?
No, Crimson Heads
No.
wasn't in the original
No.
one.
No.
Crimson, Crimson
And
Heads wasn't
if you-
even in the original Resident Evil. They didn't bring him into the remake of the first one.
To the remake, yeah, just like what is her name, Lisa?
Yep, Lisa Trevor.
So pretty much what they did with the Crimson Head, like if you do not set an original zombie on fire within a set amount of time, it'll get back. And this is what pisses me off. You'll be going down the hallway, forgetting whether you set the son of a bitch on fire or not, and you realize you did. As you're walking down, and it just gets on up, and it chases these little fuckers run after you. You're like, nope, 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 because it's harder than the original zombie.
Yeah,
Well, I think it would be kind of cool is if you did forget to
Hey,
set it on
Cody
fire.
Sharp, how are you?
Hi, Cody.
What's up,
Another
Cody?
thing, and I hate even saying this because, oh God. Okay,
scared.
and we're actually gonna wrap this up soon, guys, because we don't want it to be too long. But a couple more questions. Is one of the
I was
creatures
not
that
done.
has always scared? Oh, I'm sorry, Mickey. Go ahead. Forgive me.
Yeah,
I thought you were done.
thank you, Kanye. Thank you.
Mickey was good, but Dustin should have been the all-time. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
You listen here, you cunt! No. So, I personally believe that U.S. Americans and so on and such forth. I'm kidding, no. So I do think that with the Crimson Heads, what would be cool in this RE2 remake if they do what they did with the original remake, in which if you don't set the zombie on fire, it comes back as a Crimson Head. But I think what would be even cooler is if you set it on fire, and if it comes back, you have to either do what you did with the original, set it on fire, that time, or there's another feature that you have to do. Do you get what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. That would be cool as shit.
Yeah, or else it'd become a liquor. It's like you got to do one thing to keep it dead, and if you forget to do that, you have to do another thing to keep the Crimson Head dead. I think that would just be an excellent add-on.
What I was going to
You
say
think?
was one of the scariest creatures in all the Resident Evil series that
Oh,
say
here we
scare me to
go.
death
The
is
hunter.
the hunters. I think those
The
fucking things,
hunters, those ugly son of bitches.
because you can be on fine condition and they can still instantly kill you. And I think they should add a couple of them in the too, just because they were in the first one. And also, I was going to ask you guys, what if you can remember, what part of Resident Evil 2 scared you the most? Like, what was there a part in the game where it scared the shit out of you, or?
Oh, yeah. So, for me, it was the first time I saw a liquor.
Yeah, I think that was
It
everybody's.
was the very first time. Yeah, for me, because you have to remember, I had never played a horror game, period, before I picked up Resident Evil 2. And the only reason I kept going in Resident Evil 2 as long as I did is because the first time I played it, I had a guide right in front of me that was given to me. That it was given to me by the person who gave me Resident Evil 2. They had it. They said, "Here, do you want it?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure," because I had really never played and beaten a game before. Because 20 years ago, when I was playing,
wow.
shut the fuck up.
Corey, never completing games for 20 years.
Right. Until Kingdom Hearts 2, and then I finally did. No. So, the first time I played Resident Evil 2, I had the guide in front of me, and I played Claire first. But that whole game to me was terrifying. But the part that scared the shit out of me the most is there's two of them. One, the first time I saw a liquor, that scared the hell out of me. And then there's when it's in the beginning of the game when you when you are walking in, I have to remember. I think it's in the beginning of the game. You're first walking into RPD, and there's a hallway you're walking down. You're walking around the corner, and then you walk around the hallway, and smack, hands are coming through the windows right at you.
Oh yes, I agree with that. Yeah, that part scared the fuck out of me when I first played. You're
And
absolutely
then,
right.
to top it all off, you have to walk all the way down the hallway. You get scared by those, and then you walk around the hallway. Boom! Dead zombie right up off the floor.
That another part that scared me was
And it
when you
made-
went to the one room to get the crest you need for Claire, and the jumper jumped through the glass, the window. Into the room that you're in.
God.
That scared me the fuck out of me.
Dustin, what is that? What is that thing you say? It's like Resident Evil, the only game where you need a blue. What is it like?
Resident Evil, the only game where you need 3 keys and 2 cranks to start breakfast.
That's it. That's it.
Another thing I would like to see, and I heard this, I think this came from Resident Evil Talk as well. Guys, if you're a Resident Evil fan, I beg you, go check out the YouTube page Resident Evil Talk, and also go check out the page Residents of Evil. They're awesome, and they actually just did a podcast as well. But they brought up a thing. You know how in the beginning of RE2, you walk through the city a little bit before you get to the RPD station? I think they should make that part longer. I think we should see more of the city. Not really, wrong, but like maybe a good 20 minutes before we get to the RPD station. That would be cool, I think, to get more of the environment.
I think they should add, as weird as this sounds, and as bullshit as this sounds, to make up for the lack of them in the most recent of games, I feel like in Resident Evil 5 and 6, and so maybe a little bit in 4, they really got rid of puzzles. Having to find this and this and this in order to do this.
Yeah.
Yep.
I really think they should add a few more to kind of make up for their lack, just because puzzles
They
were a
tried
huge
to
part
with
of the
7.
game.
They tried to
Bullshit.
do that with 7. I
Well,
think.
with the remake, the first remake, they did. That's what I'm saying. They did a good job with that too. They added more puzzles, and they actually made it fun. Basically, all I'm going to end it with this as far as the remake goes. Please, Capcom, just take what you did with the original remake and put it towards this RE2 remake. Just take what made the game good and just update it. Add more puzzles, new enemies, new rooms. Just don't mess it up. That's all I ask. That's all I want. That's,
I beg it of you. Thanks, Capcom.
Thanks, Capcom.
Oh my gosh, I gotta start this
Thanks,
all over
Capcom.
again. Son of a
In
bitch.
case y'all are wondering why we keep doing that, when Dustin and I were doing our Resident Evil 2 Revelation stream on our separate channel, Gamer Bros, go check it out. Shameless plug. You're
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
We kept doing this thing where I talked about how I think it's funny in the Resident Evil games. In real life, it's not like you would find yourself on some random island in which you're like, nah, I'm out of ammo. What the fuck am I going to do? And then you come across a random crate, which just happens to have the ammo you need. Thanks, Capcom!
Right. Every fucking time.
Where's the hookers and Koshan at?
Gee, I don't know what I would have done if this random crate wasn't here. Gee golly.
Gee golly gosh.
Oh my Lanta!
Oh my goodness.
Not in
I
this
love
stream,
it.
though, Baracho88. Sorry about it.
Where
Not
the
what?
hookers and cocaine at? Nope. Nope, not tonight. Not today.
It's
Satan.
not one of them nights, I don't think.
It's not one of them streams. I'm sorry to burst your bubble.
Hey, if you pay Corey enough.
Right.
No. Not even if you paid me. Love you guys, but no. Not even if you paid me.
Well, guys, I think we're going to actually end it here. I guess we'll close off by saying, we're all pretty excited about the R2 remake and nervous. We should see something,
by the way-
hopefully, tomorrow, or, well,
By
today
the
being
way-
Sunday, the 21st.
By the way, we have like 8 people watching, by the way, just so you know.
No, we have 10.
We
No,
might
it's
be
10.
ending this stream here, but give us like 10 minutes and we're gonna be back playing Resident Evil 5 probably. I don't know if we're gonna do 5 or something different.
Resident Evil
But
5
we're
or
gonna
maybe
come
some
back.
tabletop racing or something
Yeah,
like
we'll
that.
be doing something,
Yeah.
guys.
We're
But I
gonna
just
be
wanna
playing an
say-
actual game.
I just want to say from a fan, I want to say happy birthday, Resident Evil 2. I love you so much. You're like one
Happy
of the
birthday!
best games
Thank you
ever
for
made.
being Yes,
Thanks
you
for paving the
you
way
know,
for survival horror and being
Being
what
kind
really
for
put Resident
me.
Evil on the
It's
map.
so awesome to
And
find fans
Capcom,
that love
please
Resident
come
Evil
through
as
for the
I
fans
do.
and make RE2
Take
what
care,
we want.
beautiful people, and let's
Please,
pray
Capcom.
that RE2 turns
especially
And,
if you don't want to go bankrupt.
All right,
Just
I
saying.
Yeah,
guess I'll
right.
stay.
Just saying, yep.
Just
Especially if you don't
saying.
want to die.
You don't
And-
want to become. You don't want to become the next Konami.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
here,
funny
like-
because with the RE2, real quick, the RE2, I was growing up, I remember I forgot to add this in there. My mom liked watching me watch it or play it so much. She would literally tell me, "I'll let you stay home from school if you play Resident Evil 2." I swear
See,
to
you
God.
need to understand. Dustin's mom is not just any mom.
Dustin's
She's
mom's
a
that cool mom.
She's that cool mom.
She would get so scared watching me play it, but she loved it. She's like, "I'll let you stay home from school if you play Resident Evil 2." And of course, being me, okay, Mom. You know.
See, my
yes,
mom
cool
was
for video
was
games.
the fucking opposite. Okay, my mom wasn't big on video games. Okay, but then Rayman came out. Okay,
Rayman, I love Rayman.
I came home from school, and my mom was on the PlayStation playing Rayman. That happened every single day for the next month. I didn't get my PlayStation. I wasn't grounded, but it felt like it.
Right.
Well, guys, I'm going to hear once again. Thank you so much for joining us. If you like what you see, please like, share, and comment, and subscribe, and all that jazz. And what do you guys want to see for the RE2 remake? I think we're all nervous, we're all excited, but we should see something today. Let's just all hope it is what we're waiting for. So, without further ado,
Leave us
everybody,
comments.
bye, everybody, and thank you so much for joining. Happy
Say it,
birthday,
Dustin.
Resident Evil 2.
This is your
Hey.
stream, so you have to say the proper goodbye.
Peace and blessings, baby.
Peace and blessings,
Blessings.
baby.
Peace and
Peace and
blessings,
blessings.
baby. Peace and blessings.